What's going on, everybody? Ronnie DiMaggio here, product specialist at BMW of Morristown. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about the all-new 2023 BMW X1. So the X1 is all new for 2023. It's not an LCI, it's not a refresh. It is a totally new generation with a U chassis code. The chassis code is U11. And the X1 got a major upgrade for the 23 model. It is a big improvement on the outgoing 22 models. We're going to talk about all those improvements. We're also going to do a full walk around and overview, as we always do. We're going to talk about exterior styling. We're going to hop in the car and look at the interior, which is also, of course, redesigned. We're going to talk about the powertrains and the practicality as well. So let's get started under the hood. Now, there aren't any huge changes under the hood of the X1. However, it's worth noting the power figures and whatnot. So for now, it is a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder as your only powertrain option. Interestingly, it is paired to a 7-speed dual clutch automatic rather than an 8-speed torque converter automatic. It's not the M dual clutch, but it is a dual clutch nonetheless, which is cool to see. 241 horsepower. BMW doesn't have the torque rating on their website yet, but according to JD Power, it is 295 pound-feet of torque. You guys know I always like to quote the numbers on the BMW website, but they're not up yet. So 241 and 295 from JD Power. So 2-liter inline 4 turbo with a 7-speed dual clutch. That is the powertrain summary. There are rumors kind of stirring around that an M35 model might be coming with a horsepower bump, but that's not confirmed. That's not official at all. But it's something to look forward to potentially in the future. So, and all-wheel drive, of course, xDrive all-wheel drive. It is a front drive bias with the X1, as I'm sure most of you guys know, but it is still all-wheel drive, super capable in all weather. But that's the powertrain. Let's talk a little bit about the exterior styling. As you can see, the front end is totally new. We have revised headlights, a revised and slightly larger kidney grille, a revised bumper, and all of that good stuff. There's almost too many changes in the front to list them all specifically, but just looking around the car as you are now, you can tell it's much different, definitely more modern looking. The X1, especially in the back, but the front too, looks super futuristic, which you're going to see as we move around the car. Very modern looking, very sharp lines, super chiseled, so it's definitely a good looking car. And you can tell as we come around the side that is true. Again, this car is equipped with the xLine package. You have no line, xLine, and then you can also get M Sport. xLine gives you these kind of silver accents around the undersills and around the door trim, mirrors, and things like that. M Sport will make that body color, and then no line will change things up as well. It'll kind of just be like black plastic if you don't get anything. But let's take a look at these wheels. They are an 18-inch wheel. This is kind of the entry-level wheel option. 225, 55, 18 in the front as well as the rear. So it is a square wheel setup. Good looking wheel for an entry-level wheel, nothing crazy fancy or anything like that. You can upgrade the wheels up to a 19 if you would like, and there's some nice designs with the M Sport package, but overall, decent looking base wheel for the X1. And if we just look at the general side profile of the car, you can see it's pretty familiar for an X1. The footprint is not hugely different from the outgoing model. However, there are some changes to the interior dimensions that benefit the car, which we'll talk about when we hop inside. But overall, good-looking car. We do still have a Hofmeister kink, which is, as many of you probably know, my favorite BMW design element. But overall, the side profile looks good. If we come around to the back of the X1, this is where the styling changes for 23 are most favorable, in my opinion. I think the back end is really good looking for the X1. Not that the outgoing car was not good looking. It was a good looking car in its own right, but I think the new one is really nice. You can see if we get a close-up look at the taillights, they're nicely chiseled. They have some sharp lines in them. Really nice classic L-shaped design, as you would expect from BMW. Overall, really nice looking taillights. And if we take a look at this spoiler up top, this is also very nice looking as well. Pretty aggressive for a non-M Sport car. That little roof-mounted spoiler that you get on the SUVs, I think, looks really nice. You can see that the bumper is redesigned, of course. The whole rear end is obviously redesigned, like I said, new model, and I think the changes are awesome. I think they did a great job with the design of this car. It maintains those kind of tight proportions that people like about the X1. It's still a relatively small SUV, but it looks nice and it's proportioned properly, which is tough to do with smaller SUVs. Sometimes they kind of look like a little egg-shaped. are a little awkward, but I think BMW did a really good job making sure that the proportions of this car were correct, that it had sharp lines, that it looked modern, and that it looked pretty aggressive for, you know, an X-Line X1. It's not an M Sport, it's not an X3M or an M car or anything like that. It's just the entry-level X1, but it looks really nice, fits into the model lineup really well. So kudos to BMW for doing a good job designing this one, but that's going to do it for the exterior of the X1. Now we'll take a look at the trunk as well as the rear seats and go over some of those practicality elements. All right, so around back of the X1, let's take a look at the cargo area and kind of get a feel for the practicality and whatnot. Being an SUV, people usually option up to the X1 as opposed to like a 3 Series, for example, because they want that ride height as well as maybe the practicality of the kind of SUV trunk. And as you can see, plenty of space back here, really impressive cargo capacity actually. You can fit plenty in here if you want 4 people and 4 people's luggage, not a problem at all. You do have some under trunk floor storage. As you can see, we have our Space Saver spare down there right now, but I guess you could always take that out if you wanted the storage. But overall, trunk space is plentiful in the X1, which is great to see. It has a little bit less of a kind of slope back roof like the old one did. It's more of a traditional SUV shape, so you get better trunk space, and as we're about to see, better rear seat space. So speaking of which, let's come around to the back seat here. And if I can get the door open, I'll hop in. And you can see sitting behind my own driving position here, I have plenty of knee room. I have plenty of really plentiful foot room. I can put my feet all the way under the seat. I can sit all the way back and my head is not even close to touching the ceiling. Plenty of shoulder room and whatnot, so super roomy back here. And now's a good time to mention that the interior dimensions of the new X1 are actually bigger than the outgoing F chassis X3. So like if you have a 2017 or 2016 X3, the interior dimensions of this X1 are actually bigger than your current car. Front and rear headroom and legroom are both improved over the outgoing, the previous model X3. So plenty of space back here for a relatively small SUV. Really impressed with the interior dimensions. You do have climate vents, you don't have climate control, but you do have 2 USB-Cs and of course a fold down center armrest with cup holders. But that will do it for the back seat. Let's go ahead and hop up front to the front passenger area, because that is where the majority of the big kind of headline changes for the 23 X1 interior are. So let's hop up there now. All right, so here we are inside of the 2023 X1, and first things first, I want to get this out of the way super quickly. This interior is an absolute home run for the X1. BMW did a really nice job of bringing the X1 up market a little bit. It's still our entry-level SAV, and it's priced that way as well. But it feels way more high quality than the outgoing model. All the materials are nice. The design is very nice and modern. It reminds me a lot of the iX interior, which is obviously kind of our flagship EV SAV. So super cool interior. Let's start going over some stuff. Starting out, first things first, with the seats. These are the sport seats. It's a $400 option, and in my opinion, it's an absolute no-brainer option. Definitely order them if you're ordering an X1, because they are really, really comfortable, really supportive, nice high thigh side bolsters for your thighs. The side bolsters for your torso are very nice as well. And you have an extendable thigh support, which is great. Really shockingly comfortable seats, more comfortable than the seats in the X3, close to the seats in the X5. Shape-wise, they kind of feel like this is maybe an obscure comparison, but the F30 M Sport seats, they feel kind of like that in their supportiveness, but in their comfort, it's really impressive. So great seats, and they also look pretty cool as well. Another touch point that's really impressive is the steering wheel. This is kind of the new age steering wheel for BMW. This looks similar to the one in the new 7 Series. It has a interesting design. The airbag's a little bit different shape. It's a really good looking wheel, and I suspect that we'll start seeing wheels that look like this in a lot of upcoming models. But that's kind of a theme for the X1. It's interesting that it has a lot of features and kind of button layouts that are new age, quote unquote, for BMW that we see in the iX, the new 7 Series, and now the X1. So it looks like all the new models are going to start getting a lot of the things that we're seeing here. And if the steering wheel is one of those things, that'd be great because it feels awesome. Looks great as well. The controls on the steering wheel are pretty familiar. You have volume up and down. You have a little setting button to adjust your iDrive 8 infotainment screen. and you have a music button to get your entertainment information and your heads-up display, a phone button, and the voice control button with cruise control on the left. Horn works just as you would expect in the center there. The ergonomics are great. The driving position is just what you'd expect from a BMW. Both armrests are at the same height. You have a nice commanding view out. You do sit up a little bit higher than what you would kind of expect out of a sedan, obviously. But it's, you know, the ride height as far as the driving position is what you'd expect for a car of this size, a smallish SUV. Don't expect X5 levels of kind of road preview out the front, but plenty high driving position for those folks that want the high driving position of an SUV but don't want something that's cumbersome to drive or anything like that. As far as the infotainment goes, we are running iDrive 8. It's a slightly different looking screen physically than what we get in the 3 Series LCI, the iX, and the X7. It has these kind of curved edges on the sides, which looks super nice. It's a little bit more well integrated into the dashboard. It looks more sunken into the dashboard as opposed to being on like stanchions and mounted outward, which I know is going to be a thing that you guys are pretty excited about, because we read all the comments and a lot of people say they really don't like how the iDrive 8 screen looks like it's kind of just a monitor screwed into the dashboard. This helps that a lot. It feels much more integrated into the dashboard, which is really great. As far as the controls in iDrive 8, though, they are pretty much the same as a standard iDrive 8 system. So you have your menu, your media, phone, and nav buttons all on the side there. You can also see we have some shortcut buttons over here. That is because the X1 does do away with the iDrive knob. So there is no longer an iDrive knob. It is touch and voice control exclusively. That is personally not my favorite decision that BMW's ever made. I do enjoy using the iDrive knob, so that is something we're going to have to get used to as both BMW product specialists and geniuses, and of course, you folks, clients of BMW and BMW drivers. That is something to get used to. It is nice that they gave us these shortcut buttons over here when you're in a different menu. So if I go to phone, it'll give me media, telephone, and nav kind of on the side here. So you do have the shortcut buttons, but it is all touch, so that's worth noting. There is no iDrive knob. You do still have a volume knob, thankfully, down in the center that you can scroll up and down your volume, which is great. You also have a start-stop button, of course, your shift switch rather than the actual shift knob. And then, again, this is kind of that new tech stuff. So you have My modes instead of Sport, Comfort, and Eco. So that's iX stuff, that's 7 Series stuff. So seeing that now rather than Sport, Comfort, and Eco. We also have the driving settings button there. That's the little car with the 3 lines. Again, that's the new tech that is just coming out. That is something that usually is just in the screen through a menu. Now there's a button for it. But we still have our Auto H, our skip track, and our hazards. Those are all familiar, as well as our parking button. Again, you have the kind of iX style flat piece of trim with the buttons sort of hidden, shyly integrated into the trim piece. BMW calls that Shy Tech, and it looks pretty nice. As far as the dashboard, it is trimmed, and I believe this is Sensatec, but it still looks really nice with the stitching here. You do have really good looking ambient lighting, some nice black trim here. Overall, really good looking interior. You have your cup holders down in this area, as well as a place to put a wireless charger with a little clip for your phone, which is nice of them to think of. You have 2 USB-Cs, and then of course you have some center storage as well. But overall, really, really great job on the interior for BMW. The removal of the iDrive knob is something that I'm sure will be controversial. Like I told you guys, it's not my favorite decision, but other than that, I think they kind of hit a home run with this interior. The quality is fantastic. It looks fantastic. It's all just really nice. The ergonomics are great. You can option it pretty highly. The premium package is a super value-packed option. It's $4,200, and it gives you the heads-up display, the heated steering wheel, the Harman Kardon sound system, and a bunch of other stuff. As we always do, we will list the window sticker down in the description if you want a description of the price breakdown, but you can always go to BMW USA's website and build your own X1 to get a look at what is exactly in the premium package. But I know it's a package that you guys will want to option on your X1 because it has all the good stuff in it. But that is pretty much going to do it for the X1. Like I said, lots of new tech in here. This is a great preview of what the future of BMW will look like for the mass market cars. The iX, the 7 Series are awesome cars, but they're sold in relatively low numbers compared to like the X1, the X3, the 3 Series, and things of that nature. So this is a good look at what BMWs will look like on the inside for the average BMW consumer. People like you and me that will be getting like 3 Series and whatnot. This is the kind of tech that we're looking at in the future, and it's exciting. Hopefully they bring the iDrive knob back. I'll say that if there's anybody from BMW North America watching, or BMW corporate, but other than that, really, really impressed. So that's going to do it for the interior. Let's hop outside and we'll wrap up with our final thoughts. All right, so that is going to do it for our walk around and overview of the 2023 BMW X1. Overall, I am super excited to see that BMW stepped up the X1. It definitely feels more upmarket. It feels great. It looks great. So overall, really happy with this car. Hope that gave you guys a good idea of what it's like to check out a 2023 X1 for yourself. If there's any questions that you have about the X1 or any other BMW in general, please go ahead and drop those in a comment down below. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at BMW of Morristown, and also like the video and subscribe to the channel, please. If you think we deserved it, we always appreciate that. So that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.